sorry. So this is Srimad Bhagavatam. We're reading from the 3rd canto, chapter 10, texts 17 and 18. So this is entitled Abhuti Krita, which means how we're influenced by ignorance. This is what we're going to talk about here in the verse today. So let's just dive right in here. It shows how we have two paths, these different qualities that we can attach ourselves to: lust, ignorance, anger, envy. Which will take us in one direction. It'll actually make us a fool, make us do foolish activities, and thereby suffer. Otherwise, we could just take the other path and accept the spiritual master's instructions, study the Vedas, perform the austerities that are mentioned there, sense control, and then we will actually get knowledge. Knowledge is created, as I think a previous class described in this canto. But because of this other creation of ignorance, the ignorance covering factor, then we have a tendency to act like fools. So we want to reverse that position and go upward towards real knowledge, understand who we are, who Krishna is, what our position is, and how to get there. So today's verse, let's chant that together. Oh, we're not going to chant, right? I'll just chant it. And
too much time has passed. Why don't you just go ahead?
Okay, I'll just chant. Vaikaripo deva sargaha panchamo yan maya manaha tatstastu tamasaha sargo yasto abhuti krita prabho. And then the word meanings: Vaikraha, interaction of the modes of goodness; Deva, the demigods or controlling deities; Sargaha, creation; Panchama, fifth; Yat, that which; Mayam, sum total; Mana, mind; Satstaha, sixth; Tu, but; Tamasaha, of darkness; Sargaha, creation; Ya, that which; Tu, expletive; Abhuti Krita, made foolish; Prabho, of the master. So let's go into the translation. We're talking about the fifth incarnation here. So the fifth incarnation, or the fifth creation, is that of the controlling deities by the interaction of the mode of goodness, of which the mind is the sum total. The sixth creation is the ignorant darkness of the living entity, by which the master acts as a fool. So let's go to the purport. The demigods in the higher planets are called devas because they are all devotees of Lord Vishnu. Vishnu Bhakta Shmito Daiva Asuras Tad Vikarvyayaha. All the devotees of Lord Vishnu are devas, or demigods, whereas all others are asuras. That is the division of the devas and the asuras. Devas are situated in the mode of goodness of material nature, whereas the asuras are situated in the mode of passion or ignorance. The demigods, or controlling deities, are entrusted with departmental management of all the different functions of the material world. For example, let's see, excuse me, I got sidetracked here. The department functions. For example, one of our sense organs, the eye, is controlled by light. Light is distributed by the sun rays, and their controlling deity is the sun. Similarly, the mind is controlled by the moon. All other senses, both for working and for acquiring knowledge, are controlled by the different demigods. The demigods are assistants of the Lord in the management of material affairs. Continuing the purport. After the creation of the demigods, all entities are covered by the darkness of ignorance. Each and every living being in the material world is conditioned by his mentality of lording over the resources of material nature. Although a living entity is the master of the material world, he is conditioned by ignorance, by the false impression of being the proprietor of material things. The energy of the Lord, called avidya, is the bewildering factor of the conditioned souls. The material nature is called avidya, or ignorance. But to the devotees of the Lord engaged in pure devotional service, this energy becomes vidya, or pure knowledge. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. The energy of the Lord transforms from Mahamaya to Yogamaya and appears to the pure devotees in her real feature. Continuing. The material nature therefore appears to function in three phases: as the creative principle of the material world, as ignorance, and as knowledge. As disclosed in the previous verse, in the fourth creation, the power of knowledge is also created. The conditioned souls are not originally fools, but by the influence of the avidya function of material nature, they are made fools, and thus they are unable to utilize knowledge in the proper channel. By the influence of darkness, the conditioned soul forgets his relationship with the Supreme Lord and is overwhelmed by attachment, hatred, pride, ignorance, and false identification, the 5 kinds of illusion that cause material bondage. And then this is the last verse. It doesn't have a purport, so I'll just read that. Sadime prakrita sarga Vaikritan apime shrinu Rajo Bajo Bhagavato Viveyan Harime Saha. All the above are natural creations by the external energy of the Lord. Now hear from me about the creations of Brahma, who is an incarnation of the mode of passion, and who, in the matter of creation, has a brain like that of the personality of Godhead. So this is the end of the verses. So Om Jnana Tamanandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshusmitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Slapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Upakadamayam Dadanti Swapadantikam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vanchakalpa Tribhischa Kripa Sindhu Devacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So let's just read that last verse again. The fifth creation is that of the controlling deities by the interaction of the mode of goodness, of which the mind is the sum total. The sixth creation is the ignorant darkness of the living entity, by which the master acts as a fool. So we're the master, supposedly, of the material world, but yet we're influenced to act so foolishly. And Prabhupada mentions in the purport how there's different kinds of living entities. There's the Vishnu Bhakta, Shmitu Daiva Asuras, there's the Asuras. So those are 2 types of personalities. Is that there's the devotees of Lord Vishnu, or the Devas, demigods, and whereas there's the Asuras, the demons. So this is the different modes of nature, how different entities are being controlled by their association with the modes. So in the next purport part describes here how this bewildering factor of ignorance is very amazing. How we get so attached to material things. It's interesting how we'll actually become attached to things. We'll spend money for things, but yet we don't realize how much that is really costing us. It's not only costing money, our hard-earned labor, but also our time, our life. So we have to value ourselves more than things. But we actually take ourselves so cheaply that we will, think, I may not want to pay a lot of money for a certain thing, but I will gladly give my time and my life for useless things. So that's what actually one's valuing itself less than anything else, which is amazing. This is the foolishness of the living entity being attached to things. So here it's very interesting coming back to the third canto, because right now in Los Angeles we're actually reading the 10th canto, and it's talking about the appearance of Krishna. So we're going from all his creations. Now we're just finished describing the creations of the Lord, and then as the last verse I read, it's going to describe Lord Brahma, how we're going to talk about his creations now. So he's empowered by Krishna. Krishna gave him all the ingredients, and he's given him a mind, very intelligent brain. And so now he's going to figure this out on how to create the universes, how to create our bodies, how to create our dwelling places, the planets, and all these different forms that we're going to be taking up. So it's really interesting to see how Krishna is more than just a creator, but we'll find out that he's a personality that we could develop a relationship with. So that's the whole point here, is we are so enamored by all the creations excuse me, that we're giving our life, we're giving our time for these things instead of for what's really reality. And that's a personal relationship with the real person, with the Supreme Person. And here we see how in the first part of the 10th canto, we see this demon, Asura. He is trying to kill Krishna. He wants to enjoy the things of Krishna, so he's trying to kill Krishna. So he thought he could kill the child, who was actually Durga. And this is the same Durga that Krishna is actually his Vidya energy, which she actually comes in the form. This is his internal energy coming in the form in the material world. Krishna asked him to come as Durga. You will appear in the material world and you'll be known by various names, like Durga, Kali, so many things. So this is her external feature. And this is how people are just so focused on these things, but yet she punishes them. But the devotees, this avidya turns to vidya, as Prabhupada mentioned in the purport, that this is actually the same personality, that the devotees will actually see this is Krishna's energy, because they're engaged in devotional service. So this is Durga telling Kamsa, you fool, what's the use of killing me? That Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is your enemy from the very beginning, he will certainly kill you. And he's already taken his birth somewhere else, so don't unnecessarily kill people. So she's warning him. But yet he doesn't take heed. He goes back and he actually gets some bad association again and continues his demoniac activities, trying to exploit the material energy just for himself. And this is Durga here. She's a servant of Krishna. She's coming here. And this is her position. She's a very powerful personality. As Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, this material nature is working under my direction. It's producing all moving and non-moving beings. So we see Krishna is beyond all this creation of the material world, and this Maya Shakti, this Durga, she's acting under Krishna's direction, and she's executing the creation and dissolution of this material world. So she's very powerful. So I hope I didn't lose anybody. Are you still there? So let's see, this came back on. I don't know why. To go back.
Yeah, everything's
There we
okay.
go.
It takes a while to unmute, but everything is fine. We see
Oh,
the
okay.
presentation. We hear you all right.
Okay, great. So we see Lord Brahma. I mean, there's Vishnu, all his forms, manifestations. He's creating everything. And Lord Brahma, he just is, given the intelligence, the brain, so that he can utilize all these ingredients that are given by the Supreme Lord in his universal form. And so he creates all the planets and things like that in this particular universe, which is very amazing, very powerful. But as we must remember that still beyond this material manifestation, there is that spiritual kingdom that we have to come to. And that's what our goal is. That's what our major goal is. We shouldn't make a goal to acquire things, because then when you acquire that thing, it's going to be impermanent. You may have it for some time, but then you're going to get tired of it and you're going to get rid of it. Or it may lose you before you even get too attached to it, or you're almost married to it. But you're going to lose it anyway. So why make a goal to attain something that's temporary? So we should make a goal to attain permanent value in things. So this verse is today reminded me of the Bhagavad Gita in the 15th chapter. It's described how, the living entity, according to his consciousness, it's like the aromas, that are being taken by the air, that according to our different consciousnesses, we're attracted to different things. And so we take that consciousness. So we get a particular eye, we get a particular ear, we get a particular nose, and then we get a particular type of body according to our consciousness. So this is the living entity is ignorant. By his ignorance, he's attached to sensuous things. And by the potency of this Durga energy of Krishna, all these different forms are given to us so that we can enjoy in a particular way according to our consciousness, which gets contaminated like the air. So this is our position in the material world. So we have to be very careful what we focus on, because as it's described in the light of the Bhagavat, very nice description of how, all these luxurious things like flowers and all the wonderful living entities that start to grow after the rainy season, they become very luxurious and very pompous, like a very rich man who's, attained riches, and now he's trying to enjoy all these things. But as we mentioned, he doesn't realize that it's temporary, and when the season changes, then everything's going to dry up, and then everything will be lost. So Prabhupada says we should be intelligent, not attached to these flowery things, which are only temporary of this material world. So we should find something more valuable to become attached to. So that's the whole purpose of the Krishna appearing and giving us the Vedic literatures through the spiritual teachers. And here again, it's described in a lot of the Bhagavad that just like in that rainy season, these roads, they don't become very frequently used, and they become covered with long grasses, as you can see there. And thus, it's very difficult to see the path. As we mentioned, the two different paths that we can take. So in this age, the scriptures are not properly studied by the Brahmanas, being covered by the effects of time. So because of that, they become practically lost, and it's very difficult to understand them. So this is the example that this covered road is exactly like that Brahmana who is not accustomed to studying and practicing these reformatory practices of the Vedas. And then he becomes covered with long grasses of illusion. And what happens? He forgets his constitutional position. He becomes influenced by ignorance, and then he acts like a fool, as mentioned, and he deviates from this being attached to this seasonal overgrowth. And he's completely in Maya, He identifies himself with all these illusory productions, and he succumbs to illusion, forgetting his spiritual life. So in this age, it's described how we're so covered over this energy, this material world, like the glow rooms, worms. They seem to be prominent in the darkness, but yet, people, they represent these so-called spiritualists and religionists and yogis and people that have this knowledge, supposedly, to be happy here in the material world. But it's not possible. It's not possible. They're just simply glow rooms. And these are descriptions of the faithless unbelievers. They can't see clearly, and they're just like owls. They don't see the rays of the sun. So similarly, those influenced by demoniac principles, they can't recognize Krishna. But the devotees, even though Krishna tries to hide himself in various ways in this material world, even his pure devotees will know him as he is. It's described that this existence is disguised, or Krishna's existence is disguised by space, time, and thought. That's described in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Very nice purport by Srila Prabhupada. But the devotees, the pure devotees of Krishna, they can see him in his personal feature beyond this space, time, and thought. So even though Lord Krishna is not visible to ordinary eyes, that those who are beyond these coverings of layers, because of their transcendental devotion, they can actually see Krishna. Just like we quoted that verse, Vaivihesha Gunamani, that this energy of Krishna is very difficult to overcome, but those who surrender to him, they can easily cross beyond it. So those are those two types of people that are described. Prabhupada did that first quote in his purport. It's actually from the Padma Purana, but it's quoted in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And the whole verse is that there are two classes of men in the created world. One consists of the demoniac and the other of the godly. The devotees of the Lord Vishnu are the godly, whereas those who are just the opposite are called demons. So that's very nicely describing the difference between demigods and the demons. But they're both active. The devotees are active, the demons are active, but their objective is to satisfy two different things. One is, like Kamsa is trying to satisfy himself, but the devotees, their devotional service, they want to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead by devotional service. So this is the difference. And so this is our Krishna consciousness movement. It's meant for devas, devotees. If you're a demon, you can't take part in this movement. So the devotees in Krishna consciousness, they don't take part in demoniac activities either. And their activities, they don't appeal. The demoniac activities don't appeal to the devotees. And the devotees' activities don't appeal to them. So this is the difference. It's like night and day, these personalities. So Prabhupada mentions how just like the frog hears the torrential rains and he comes out of the mountain caves and he begins to chant. And he said this is like the brahmacharis who chant the Vedic hymns by the order of the spiritual master. So we're in a godless age, and Prabhupada calls out to all the world-recognized religious sects who believe in God that they have to come out of their secluded places and start to preach the science of God, to everyone, Hindus, Muslims, Christians, and other sects. They have convincing faith in the authority of God, so they shouldn't just sit idly. They should actually get up and help, spread this knowledge to everyone. So Prabhupada mentions in his purport there that such fearless devotees of God always speak scientifically about the existence of God, even at the risk of death. Such devotees of God feel compassion for the mass of people who have completely forgotten the Supreme Lord and who engage in the false pursuit of happiness that ends in the sense pleasures enjoyed by hogs and dogs. So here, the knowledge is really doesn't hold any punches. It explains what we're actually doing. We're acting like fools. We're acting like animals. So we're meant to give up this nonsense and start to take advantage. Read the Vedic literatures, chant these mantras, come out and give these descriptions of Krishna. And these devotees, they're like moons. They come out, and Prabhupada describes that in the light of the Bhagavad, how just like the moon appears to be moving, but it's not. It's the clouds. So the clouds of ignorance are moving, and people are seeing things and identifying with things that are not really happening. But those who are self-realized are like the moon. They can understand that the moon is situated in this place, and it doesn't move. And in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's also a nice praise of the devotees of the Lord who are like moons. He says, all glories to the moons who are devotees of the principal moon, Lord Chaitanya Chandra. Their bright moonshine illuminates the entire universe. So it's such a nice verse how it describes the devotees of the Lord and how they're like the sun. There's that one verse also, Krishna Surasama Mayahaya Adhikara. That Krishna is like the bright sun, and as soon as that sun appears, there's no question of darkness or essence. So similarly, this verse, it describes the illumination of the moons, brightened by the reflection of Krishna's sun, or by the grace of all the devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The entire world will be illuminated despite this darkness of Kali Yuga. So only the devotees of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they can dissipate this darkness of Kali Yuga. This ignorance of the population of this age, it's so bad that no one else can do that. So Prabhupada had said that we wish that all the devotees of the Krishna consciousness movement may reflect the Supreme Sun and thus dissipate the darkness of the entire world. So this is very nicely shown how Srila Prabhupada has developed these external mansions as far as these temples throughout the world. And it's interesting how it's described by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He said that these temples are like external mansions. So we have these temples. It's an external mansion. It's a building to perform Hari Katha. So similarly, we should have temples of books. Books are like temples. And we should have a lot of books distributed, written, published, distributed, so that the masses of people can take advantage. But it's interesting what Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, that just like we have this external temple, we have these temple books, so we should have this internal Hari Bhajan in the world. So, and what is that? It's a temple of devotees. Even more important than the external temple of bricks is the temple of the devotees. So he says that we must protect ourselves from the materialistic people and defend ourselves from the confusion of the age of Kali. So we construct a temple of books, we construct a temple of ideal lives, as shown that goes on in the devotees' lives. And that's how the idea of devotional service will remain permanently in this world, by this construction of a temple of books, temple of ideal lives. So we have to take advantage of these Vedic literatures, take advantage of these facilities that are given to us, so that we can actually rid this darkness by this moon that has been given to us by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is non-different than Krishna. So Krishna is coming. He's going to appear again as Lord Chaitanya just in a few days. So we should take up his mission as our life mission, take up his goals as our goals, to actually advance in our understanding, in our knowledge, so that we will understand, not act like fools, as described here. So as the devotees, they began to chant and dance and take advantage. It's described how, in the light of the Bhagavad, just as living beings attain a transcendental attractive form by rendering service to Krishna, similarly, all the inhabitants of the land and water, they assume beautiful forms by taking advantage of the newly fallen water. So it's like nectar. We have the holy names, and these transcendental literatures are like nectar. And Prabhupada has pointed out that, we, by our practical experience, that our students of the International Society of Krishna Consciousness, that before coming, they were dirty looking, while they had naturally beautiful personal features, but due to not having information about Krishna consciousness, they appeared very dirty and wretched. But since they've taken to Krishna consciousness, their health improved, and following the rules and regulations, their bodily luster increased. And when they wear these devotional clothes, wearing tilak, beads, and then they look just like they came directly from Vaikuntha. That's actually where we are. That's our home. That's where we came from. So this is the Vedic literatures. These are what the devotees, they take advantage of this beautiful, invigorating downpour of transcendental descriptions of God found in these Vedic literatures. And then that way our spiritual consciousness is invigorated, refreshed. We're spiritualized. We have that body, it's spiritualized, and it becomes very, very beautiful. So in nature, we study nature, we can become self-realized like this. So also it's described here in the light of the Bhagavad that after this rainy season, then there's so many nice fruits and things, blackberries and dates, and then all the devotees, even Krishna himself, comes and enjoys these things. So this is described that Krishna came. He appeared here with his personal entourage. He came to attract the conditioned souls of the mature world. Even though this mature world is a shadow reflection of the spiritual world, those materially encaged living entities, they seek spiritual happiness in the form of perverted materialistic attachments. So we have to take up the mercy. Krishna is so kind. He comes to display himself, to attract us, so that we can actually understand what our real position was like and be engaged in his devotional service and guided by his authorized representatives. And we will actually begin to know about Vrindavan, begin to know about Krishna and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's our great fortune. And then we see here how the Lord reciprocates his dealings of love with all his associates. And here is an example how he played with them, he sat with them, he ate with them, and they all became practically like God. It's not that they became one with him and merged into his existence, but everyone attained their original spiritual quality, and they had wonderful relationships with him. It's not an impersonal thing where you just mix water like the rivers go into the ocean and they just merge. But actually, the living being can keep his separate existence in the spiritual kingdom and enjoys life with the supreme spiritual being. So this is how Krishna displayed himself. There's the cowherd boys, the cows, the maids. There's the forest, the trees, all the hills, water, fruits, cows, all these things. You can enjoy life with all these different things in the spiritual world in association with Krishna. And they're actually, this is all Krishna's energy. It's actually simultaneously one with Krishna but different from him. So here's Krishna, ultimately one but in different varieties, for different pastimes and tastes and pleasures Krishna wants to enjoy with his devotees. And then his devotees also enjoy, which is wonderful. So go to the next one here. This is very nice how that beautiful rainy season just becomes very attractive to everyone, even Krishna, who is the cause of all causes. So all his energy, Krishna appreciates his creative energy. It's very beautiful by nature. Even though here it's temporary, still It's full of the glories of Krishna. And the devotees, they can take advantage of that. It's a temporary creation. It's relative truth. But this temporary picture of eternal creation, that's the fact. But the forgetful souls, they don't know. They don't have information about this spiritual creation. And Krishna created this temporary manifestation just to give us an idea of his original creation. So that way we can make use of a bad bargain and utilize everything here in the material world, which seems temporary, actually in the service of Krishna. And this is how the devotees, they're able to see through the material Durga energy and actually see Krishna's real energy, see the original form, see this vidya, this real knowledge of Krishna. So that's the process. So this is what our main goal is to go beyond this material energy, which actually has these different seasons. We always go through the dry season, the rainy season, all these different seasons. We want to go beyond these clouds of ignorance and actually enter into the spiritual world where Krishna is. And that is our ultimate goal, is to go there, to the spiritual planet where everything is eternal, full of bliss and knowledge. And we don't have to worry about anything, losing anything, experiencing any inconvenience, suffering, or misery. And that's where we're meant to go. That's our home. We have to get out of these clouds of the material world, clouds of ignorance, clouds of suffering, and go back home, back to God. Okay, so I'd like to end there and open it up for any comments or questions or realizations.
Okay,
Glad you got to see.
Thank you.
Hi. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Prabhu. Just one thing that I really liked, I mean, all of it. Well, the paintings are incredible. I don't know where you got these. They're just wonderful. I just want express my appreciation. I think you, yes, you made a wonderful point about we know we must protect the temple of devotees because
Yes.
bricks and mortar might be there or not, be there or destroyed, or even things like that are happening in the Eastern Europe. And it's really the temple of devotees, and of course that there's the temple of the books, and that's the most important thing, and to keep out Maya and the various ways she attacks, and especially I think sowing discord among the devotees. I think that's the most dangerous thing, and so I just wanted to appreciate that. That really stuck in my mind there, something really to remember.
Well, thank you very much. Yes, those images are from the Light of the Bhagavat. It's a really wonderful book. Describes
all these
different. It's very nice. And yeah, that's what what are the temples? They're made up of devotees, and without devotees, what good is the temple? So that's the real asset, is the devotees. So we should take care of the devotees. Even more important than, not that we neglect the temple building itself, but it's we should see that the devotees are satisfied and happy and engaged in devotional service and protected and given good association, like we see here in the temple. There's so much ecstatic engagements to be engaged in, where the devotees can become absorbed in Krishna consciousness in association. Thank you. That's very nice. Any other comments or questions?
I was going to say something. I'm not asking a rhetorical question, actually. I'm just confused because I haven't studied the entire chapter here. It's interesting how it's described that the above creations are natural creations, and then after this is going to be described about Lord Brahma's creations. So,
yes.
the demigods, the controlling deities, are created before Lord Brahma.
Yes,
That's interesting.
he's one of them. Yeah.
So it would appear that Lord Brahma does not create the bodies of the demigods, I guess.
Hmm. Well, yeah, there's some certain demigods do come from his body, but they're already there. I guess they just come through his body. Like all the ingredients are there. Just like, but Krishna created everything. He just puts everything together. He's like the engineer that takes all the raw ingredients of the earth and different things. So I guess he's kind of like a amazing organizer of all these things, manifests them in a certain way, according to Krishna's desire. I don't know, what do you think? Maybe someone else has some more input. But that's a good point.
Yes, it's hard to focus. I mean, how do you say it?
Follow.
Focus the camera. Meaning it's a little esoteric. It's a little mystical, the whole thing.
Yeah.
The whole process. The details, are not, unless it's being given by the charges. Anyway, I really liked your class, Gaur Chandra Prabhu, this Vidagdha Madhavadas.
Thank you,
I have a question. You read something from Chaitanya Charitamrita about the moon-like devotees of Lord Chaitanya, and he's the son. Can you give me the part of Chaitanya Charitamrita where that is?
Sure, that's from the Adi Leela. Let's see here. Find it for you real quick. Adi 13.5. It's very nice. Prabhupada's report is very nice, and there also how he describes
Okay, nice. I'm going to send you an email later about something else, but
okay, sure.
The other thing about this purport, which was startling, Prabhupada saying that the Devas, they're in the mode of goodness, and they're devotees of Vishnu, and then he goes to a place where he says, well, that those in the lower modes are asuras. That's that's the definition, and so anybody that's dealing in the lower modes should be very humble, if they're trying to be a devotee, because that's not, and of the 5 subjects given in Bhagavad Gita, Ishvara, let's say Prakriti, material nature, Jiva, the living entities, the Ishvara, the controller of both, Kala, eternal time, and Karma. Karma is the only thing that changes. Everything else is eternal. So the whole idea, because lately in the classes, I've been getting the impression that we have a nature, and certainly we have this body, and certain things are fixed. There's not much we can change there. But, we have a particular nature, but that has to be understood apart from the idea that the whole idea is that we have to change. We have to change karma. We have to lighten the modes. The whole idea is to get out of this pride, to get out of so many things that that it's, as this purport says, made us fools. The master becomes a fool when he's trying to lord it over, and he's he's thinking he's the proprietor of something, and so we have to change all that, and it's a change of heart. It's work, and so that's part of our sangha, is to, keep that focus, how, what is what's, and I really like that one painting, the stairs up and the stairs down. That's a great painting. Some of the slides were really nice today.
Yeah, we got those two paths. So yeah, we have to be like an transcendentalist. It reminded me also that some more verses from the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. How, you know, it's said in the purport, Prabhupada says the energy Lord is called avidya, bewildering factor, you know, and ignorance. If the devotees are engaged in devotional service, then it becomes pure knowledge. So like that 15th chapter describes how the endeavoring transcendentalists who are situated in self-realization, they can see this clearly. But those whose minds are not developed and are not situated in self-realization cannot see what is taking place, even though they may try. So this is so important that the transcendentalists on this path, they have to really, you know, become engaged properly. Otherwise,
yeah, it's correct. And the stairs up, the painting you have on the screen right now, it's very very interesting. We all know the lower stairs. We're too familiar with some of that stuff. But the upper stairs is very interesting. It's very interesting. Acceptance of spiritual master, study the Vedas, so you're hearing, and the association of devotees. Then you know, perform some sacrifices, austerity, and then your senses come under control, and then you're actually able to speak something that you've heard, you know, with some accuracy. You have spiritual knowledge. Very nice progression.
Yeah, it's amazing. Very nice. You have to walk up the steps. It's an endeavor. Otherwise, you'd be pulled out, dragged down.
Right. Cool. And those characters, yeah, everything's a person, you know, greed, lust. They look crazy.
Right, yeah. Can I ask you a question? Can you see the GoToMeeting panel on the right side of my screen? Or is that not shown?
No.
Okay,
no.
Only I can see it. Okay, good.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I was wondering if you could clear something up on the translation to 17, where it says the fifth creation is that of the controlling deities by the interaction of the mode of goodness, of which the mind is the sum total. How is the mind the sum total?
Well,
I didn't understand the sum.
Yeah. There's that verse in the Bhagavad Gita, men are struggling with the senses, including the mind. Well, the mind is like the, you know, the thing that joins all these things, like the chariot, and you got the chariot driver, the horses, and the mind is that thing that it's actually like a manifold for all these senses. So it kind of works like that with the analogy of the chariot.
How does it relate with the controlling deities?
Oh, the mind is controlling deities?
Well, I don't know. It's just the way the sentence is structured. It's not clear to me, because it seems like talking about the fifth creation is the controlling deity. And then it says, by the interaction of the mode of goodness. So is the interaction of the mode of goodness the controlling deities? It's like got three different parts in that sentence. Controlling deities, the interaction of the mode of goodness, and the sum total is the mind. So I just didn't understand the way the sentence, those three aspects of it.
Can I speculate on that one?
Yeah, I'm not sure where he is. It's probably right here somewhere, huh? Yeah, go ahead, Prabhu.
Well, I was thinking, actually, Madan, I think it's the way you're thinking. It sounds to me like it's the sum total of all the demigods. They're all within the mind, you know, because the mind is a controlling, the controlling sense of all the other senses. Without the mind, none of the senses work. So all of the senses have their controlling deities, and they're all situated within the mind. So it's like the sum total of all the demigods is within the mind. I'm not saying it very well, but I hope you know what I'm talking about here.
Then it describes how the mind is controlled by the moon. So we have to become like moons. That's where that another moon is brought up. But yeah, so yeah, that's a good question. Any other comments, questions, realizations? Jai, sorry for all the technical difficulties. I don't know what happened to my sound system on my computer. But,
well, all's well that ends well. We got through it.
Yeah, I'm glad. Yeah. So glad you got to see the presentation.
Next time, maybe we'll get together before class and try and see what the problem is.
Yeah, I spent too much time trying to find the program, and then I realized time was flying by, and then I decided to call you last 5 minutes before. It's too late, yeah. So, great. Thank you all so much for your kind attention and all your wonderful input. And all glories to Srimad Bhagavatam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you, Gauda Prabhu.
Jai, thank you very much.
Srimad